You guys, I just ran 2 miles and then walked another one basically, and today I did not meet my goals. So yesterday I started to understand a really amazing theory and I really wanted to share it with you guys, and so I sort of rescheduled today to go 4 miles instead of 2 so I would have more time to analyze the theories that I had discovered. And then something really interesting happened. When I started out on my run, I started to have this paranoid fantasy of somebody confronting me and saying, like, you're making too much use of this space. And I said, okay, well, if you're confused, please call the cops. And then if the cops, and then in the fantasy, the cops came to talk to me instead of telling her that what I was doing was legal. And so what I realized is that even if what I was doing is legal, I still had this feeling, this gut feeling that I was making too much of an early withdrawal on the space, similar to how I mitigated the value of my apartment by parking too much in the public part of the apartment. So I had a sense that I was overstepping a little bit. And last night when I did my little fireside chat, I discussed how I have a ability to be spiteful, and if somebody asks me to take a step back, I'm likely to just do an about face and go in the other direction forever. So I want to keep working on that, and I know that my fantasy was probably not very realistic, but just in the spirit of following my gut, I decided to step outside of the route that I've been running and go outside of the loop and go in the other direction for the next mile. But then my body started to hurt a little bit. I wasn't able to finish the second mile on time, and I thought about how at my age, like, the pain that you feel in your body is the injuries that you got like 5 years before, and the injuries that you're getting now are things that you won't feel into the future. So I started to think it might be good to go to the doctor. And I'm a little scared that I won't be able to continue my project the way that I want to, but since I have been learning to listen to my body and listen to the things that my mind is telling me, so it occurred to me that I made the video, I said smart people implement plans immediately. And so last night I made 3 plans for what to do before I make my next decision, and there are things that are going to take me a while, so it makes sense that I procrastinated. But now I'm realizing that to take the next step, I should do those things first. And all in all, it makes sense that I'm not able to yet bring you the theory that I was working on, because I noticed some controversial emissions slipping out of myself a couple times yesterday, and I feel like this topic, the way that I see it, it touches on so many things that it's going to have to be handled delicately. And so maybe I will get to do that, maybe not. But before getting ambitious, I'm just going to do what my body tells me, and I'm going to go make some videos about that. All right, thanks a lot. You guys, instant update status. I had this phrase go through my head when I was starting to exit the loop that I have been running on every day. And I was like, I need to be careful, because as a person of privilege, people won't hesitate to kick me out of stuff. But then I could feel the tension in that, and so a couple moments later I realized, like, oh, and I also need to be careful, because as a person of privilege, I might not notice when I'm overstepping my welcome, and I might not notice when I'm making too big of withdrawal against the shared stack of social capital. So I thought about that more as I did my cool down, and I was like, well, I don't want to be too standoffish and too aloof, because that can make people nervous too. Like, I was thinking, oh, if you just avert your eyes and don't look at the girls, then that might make people think that you have a problem, and if you look at girls, it makes you do bad things. So, like, you don't want to be too separate. And I think that I probably sometimes am too separate. because I'm too cautious about my ability to intimidate, I guess, but it's a balancing act. You guys, instant update status part 2. I just had to call out 3 things that you probably noticed if you've been paying attention. One is that I spoke about leveraging high risk behavior by wandering around in low risk territory, and notably, as soon as I stepped out of my low risk territory and went to run around a neighborhood that I wasn't as familiar with, the system started to fall apart. Secondly, I've spoken about how the length of the run wasn't actually stipulated. That's just an emergent property that I started to experience. And as soon as I tried to step out of that, the plan fell apart by trying to go 4 miles instead of 2. And the third thing is that the other emergent property of the mile pace tracks practice that I've been learning is that I'm basically, the recap, I'm only allowed to talk about the stuff that occurred to me during the run. I'm not allowed to plan out what I'm gonna say. And as soon as I tried to step outside of that, the thing came crashing down. So, just more data about why I need to trust my instinct, why I need to trust the process, and why I need to trust not only the stipulated properties of the practice, but also the emergent properties of it.